The first time Emily sensed that something was wrong in her family, she was only 9 years old. She remembered lying awake one night, hearing muffled voices from the kitchen. Her parents weren't arguing exactly, but their whispers carried urgency, the kind that made her heart race even though she didn't understand the words. When she crept down the stairs to peek, she saw her mother clutching an old photograph, tears streaming down her face, while her father's jaw was set in stone. He noticed Emily's small frame in the doorway, and in an instant, the photo was gone, his voice suddenly cheerful, forcing a smile as though nothing had happened. But that night left a mark on Emily. She felt something unspoken hanging over their home, something fragile and dangerous, like a shadow that followed her every step. Years passed, and she tried to dismiss that memory. By her teenage years, Emily's world looked ordinary from the outside. A modest home in a quiet neighborhood, weekends filled with chores, school dances, and the occasional laughter at the dinner table. But behind closed doors, tension simmered. Her father often worked late, returning home with exhaustion etched into his face, while her mother drifted through rooms like a ghost, her smile never quite reaching her eyes. There was a constant air of pretending, as if their lives were held together by silence rather than love. Emily didn't know what the secret was, but she felt its weight pressing down on all of them, shaping her childhood in ways she couldn't explain. She never guessed that this unspoken truth would one day unravel violently, exposing a past so dark that it would shock not only her, but the entire town that believed the Carter family was perfectly ordinary. It was a stormy afternoon when Emily first stumbled upon a piece of that hidden past. She had been searching the attic for an old yearbook when her hand brushed against a box wedged deep behind dusty trunks. Its lid creaked open, revealing a stack of newspaper clippings, brittle letters, and black and white photographs of people she didn't recognize. At first, she thought nothing of it, until her eyes caught a headline that froze her in place. Local woman vanishes without a trace, 1985. The missing woman's name was Claire Matthews. She had disappeared nearly 2 decades before, long before Emily was born. Why would her family keep this? And why was it hidden in a place no one was meant to find? Her pulse quickened as she sifted through the papers, each one hinting at a tragedy connected to her father's workplace at the time. In some of the photos, Emily thought she recognized a familiar silhouette, broad shoulders, the tilt of a jaw that looked alarmingly like her father's. When she showed her mother the clipping the next morning, the reaction was worse than she expected. Her mother's face drained of color, her hands trembling as if she'd seen a ghost. "Emily, you shouldn't have found this," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please let it go." Some truths destroy more than they heal. But Emily couldn't let it go. Her curiosity had already planted roots, and now she needed answers. Her father's response was even more terrifying. That night, when he discovered she had been in the attic, his rage erupted. His voice thundered through the walls, his eyes dark and wild. "Stay out of this, Emily," he warned. "You don't know what you're messing with." From that moment on, the house felt like a war zone. Her parents spoke in sharp whispers when they thought she wasn't listening, their arguments ending abruptly whenever she entered the room. The tension was unbearable, and Emily felt more like an intruder in her own home than a daughter. Every unanswered question pushed her further into suspicion, and soon, she began her own quiet investigation. She spent afternoons in the local library, combing through old microfilms and yellowed newspapers. Each article about Claire Matthews painted her as a bright, hopeful young woman who worked late shifts at a diner, saving money to escape town for a better life. One summer evening, she had left work and never made it home. Police searched for months, but with no leads and no body, the case went cold. Emily couldn't understand why her family had a hidden box filled with Claire's story, unless they were somehow tied to her disappearance. Her heart sank the day she came across a police note in the archives. Witnesses had described a man in a dark pickup truck seen idling near the diner the night Claire vanished. The description matched the make and model of the truck her father drove back then. A chill ran through Emily as she imagined her father behind the wheel, waiting in the shadows. Could it be possible? The thought made her sick, but the evidence whispered otherwise. The more Emily pieced together, the more she realized the story she had grown up with, the story of her family, was incomplete. Something sinister lurked beneath the surface. And late one night, as she crept downstairs for water, She overheard her parents' voices again. This time, her mother's words cut through the darkness like a knife. She's going to find out everything, Mark. And when she does, it'll destroy us all. Emily froze at the bottom of the stairs, her heart pounding in her chest. Her father's reply was calm, but his tone carried an edge that made her shiver. Then we make sure she never digs that deep. Some doors aren't meant to be opened. She crept back to her room, every nerve on fire. The weight of their words crushed her. If her parents had been protecting her all these years, from what? And if they weren't protecting her, then what secret had they been guarding so fiercely that even their daughter couldn't be trusted with the truth? The following days blurred together. Emily barely spoke at school, her mind consumed by fragments of clippings, photographs, and whispers in the night. She began to see her parents not as caretakers, but as strangers, their smiles rehearsed, their lives carefully staged. And then came the breaking point. A letter arrived in the mail addressed to her mother in handwriting Emily didn't recognize. She watched her mother open it, her face crumbling as tears spilled silently down her cheeks. Emily caught only a glimpse of the words before it was tucked away, but it was enough. It read, "It's been 20 years. You can't hide forever.